Have you noticed that you can sometimes make a point in passing that years later turns out to have even greater significance? I'm sure that was true for Paul. You know, on one of his visits to the church in Thessalonica, he'd actually said that if someone doesn't work, if they're unwilling to work, then they shouldn't eat. And I'm sure there was a context for that was quite simple. But, you know, there came a point where the church in Thessalonica became quite obsessed about the Lord's return and were expecting it so soon that there were people that were saying, well, I'm really spiritual now. I'm just waiting for Jesus to come back so I don't have to do any work. And Paul was able to take the seed that he'd sown way back then and say, do you remember that when I was with you, I said this, that if someone is unwilling to work, they should not eat. The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. And it comes back with even greater force. And it's a challenge to a kind of false spirituality, isn't it? That thinks that if you just sit back, you can claim that you're living by faith, whereas in reality, you're actually living by everyone else's endeavors. Whilst they're out there working, they're earning your keep, not just their own. And that is something that Paul wants to challenge. And he doesn't only challenge it with his words, he challenged it with his lifestyle. We know that Paul had this passion because he felt that he owed it to preach the gospel free of charge. He said, woe unto me if I preach not the gospel, but I want to make it free of charge. And so he would actually labor with his hands and work there making tents and doing anything to earn an income, and not just for himself, but also to support others. He had this passion for supporting his team so that they could function together. And I love that generosity of spirit. And I think somehow Paul is trying to put that kind of spirit into these people in Thessalonica that were rather over spiritually saying, I'm not going to work, I'm waiting. And do you know, once we get that idea that we can actually work and work hard and actually be transforming society by meeting the needs of others who genuinely would love to work but can't, maybe through disability or circumstances and all of the various pressures that come in life, we can actually, through our contribution, make a difference to them. So I think this is an amazing statement that Paul is saying here. And our response to this, I believe, should be that we step up our willingness and say, yes, I will press on, because, you know, there's something great about meeting the needs of others. Let's become a church that not is dependent on people being generous to us, but actually has a passion for being generous to others, giving, meeting needs, meeting some of the neediest places of the world with a generous spirit. Let's do it. Let's be willing to work for the sake of the gospel and for the blessing of the communities in which we live.